This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev, Ford set to power the next Ranger with an all-new diesel V6. We take you through your car's annual major service. We review Mitsubishi's all-new city crossover, the Eclipse Cross. All this and much, much more, only Cars with Big Boy Trev. The Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross adds to the Japanese brand's SUV range with its first truly new model in over half a decade. While it might be close to the slightly smaller ASX in format and theory, the Eclipse Cross proves Mitsubishi has come a long way. From a global perspective, the Eclipse Cross plays the role of a brand ambassador, designed to convey the most avant-garde aspects of Mitsubishi's dynamic shield design ethos. It conveys the dynamic and aesthetic goals Mitsubishi has aspired to. The Eclipse Cross offers a distinct, angular, fastback look which steps it up to a league that plays against premium mainstream SUVs like the Toyota CHR and the Nissan Qashqai. Question is, will it be able to secure itself in this crossover pecking order? Let's find out.
After that beautiful introduction, it's time to introduce to you the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, Mitsubishi's first and only crossover now available in Kenya for you to sample. And of course, as you can see, the first thing that you notice with the front profile is this cheetah-like design. And I can tell you've seen it on the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, which actually looks very good. The L200 that's coming soon to a TV screen near you, and of course the Outlander. Now this particular design has been inherent with Mitsubishi family for the last 10 years, and obviously you do have that subtle cue that makes this car very different. The grille, obviously, you do have the big 3-diamond mark from Mitsubishi. It has piano black finish, giving it this car an actual proper premium look and touch. Obviously, as you can see, the front air dam over here, there's a lip here to allow easy entry point, especially when you're going off-road. Now the grille and the lights do actually have one similar profile, and of course you do have daytime running lights that are signature on the front headlights, giving this car that beautiful look, that signature look that you see it looks like a proper Mitsubishi. Moving across to the side profile, obviously you do see that this particular car has a coupe-like design. X6, X4, you know, but this is a Mitsubishi theme on this particular car. Crossovers actually becoming very, very popular right now, and this type of design makes this car have that aggressive look, that sporty look that you so desire. If you look at the side profile, they're actually straight, and you have door cladding over here that prevents you from getting muddy, especially if you're going off-road and you open the door, the mud doesn't stick on your trouser because of this particular cladding that's on the door. So moving over at the back, as you can see, Mitsubishi have actually designed this particular vehicle to have that swooping line that gives this car an athletic stance, which is very important. Gives this car a different look. If you've seen the Hyundai Creta or the Nissan Qashqai, they're just normal, but this one with this particular design makes it very, very interesting. And obviously you do have tail lights that are actually on top, and this is actually a good reason, because if you have an accident, then you probably just hit the bumper, which moves away all the way to the back after the middle half of this particular car, so you're protected from buying expensive lights of this particular car. That said, it's time to get inside and see what the cabin is made of, and of course give you a detailed analysis of the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. Stay tuned. Today we are in the beautiful cabin of the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. Now it's a long term, a long word. Mitsubishi have been on a renaissance of some sort. Remember, they've been having trouble for the past decade, and now they're churning out brand new cars that are appealing to the public. And remember, crossovers are the fastest growing segment right now, and you can imagine the likes of the Toyota CHR and obviously the Nissan Qashqai, the competition is stiff. So Mitsubishi had to step up and make sure that this particular car is up to par with the rest. So let's start with the design. Now, as you can see here, Mitsubishi have gone for the forward cap design, and obviously as you can see the center console, there's a flowing design here. On top we do have a multimedia system that is standard of Mitsubishi. It doesn't look as modern as you'd want, but it does and gets the job done. So it houses the radio, media, climate control, and so many other things that are placed in this particular part. And of course, Mr. Mirigi, who's our regular tech expert, we're going to give us much more detail about this particular system. But it's good, it's fantastic, it plays amazingly well. And right below it, you do have vents, obviously, for the climate control system. And below it, you do have a dual zone climate control system. At the gearbox console, obviously you have a standard shift gearbox, which is standard, and it's got the Invex 2 automatic system that I will explain later on as we drive this particular car. And obviously you do have buttons for the seat warming and cooling. Remember, seat warming and cooling is so important in this day and age. Most cars that we've tested in cars, Big Boy Trev, have it, and it's a pleasure, especially during long distance. Amazing, amazing feature. Obviously you do have electronic park brake and of course hill hold assist. When you're going uphill, remember this guy's a front-wheel drive and you have an option of four-wheel drive actually. So you're going to talk much more about that later on. Let's move over to the instrument binnacle. Clear and precise, the Mitsubishi way, obviously. The italics are well designed to ensure that you assume all the information, you consume all the information quite clearly. And of course you have the additional heads-up display unit that's right here. And of course on the left-hand side, you have a tachometer, and the right hand side you have the speedometer, and in between you do have a multi-information display. It's monochrome but color, but gives you all the information that you need: temperature, fuel, what door is open, etc., etc. That is so important right now in this day and age. You do have a start-stop button, obviously, with start-stop technology as well, and of course you do have the steering wheel, which is lovely and looks very good. It's got a piano black finish with some stainless steel trim, and right behind it you have the devil horns, the paddle shifters, that allows you to explore the full potential of the MiVec engine. For those who don't understand MiVec engine, we're going to talk about it later. It's called Mitsubishi Intelligent Variable Valve Timing Electronic Control System, MiVec. And I can tell you, so much fun to drive on this particular car. The seats are comfortable. Big Boy Trev is, as you can see, there's an illusion of space because of the dashboard, and I feel very comfortable. The seats are powered, electronically adjusted, both passenger and driver, and obviously you do have quite a number of settings as well. I'm going to hand the reins over to Mr. Mirigi. He's going to give us a detailed analysis of what this system can do. He's going to give us also a detailed analysis about the seating capacity, the flexibility of the rear seat, and of course luggage space. Stay tuned, because Big Boy Trev, as always, we endeavor to give you all the latest reviews from across the world.
So like Trevor mentioned, this car is jam-packed with technology, and the first thing I have to mention is the heads-up display. The button over here, and a screen pops up in the dashboard to make sure that it gives you the information that the car has directly in your line of sight. So you're getting the speed, everything that's mirrored in the dashboard itself here is directly in your line of sight, making sure that you can keep your hands on the wheel, keep your eyes on the road, and still be in control of everything that's happening in the car. Keeping up with that theme, this multimedia interface system here, that's by Mitsubishi, also is controlled by voice. So there's actually a voice control button on the steering wheel, as well as one on the touchscreen display itself. It's a bit of a small screen, but it's a clear screen, and the graphics are very clear and big and easy for you to use. Now this, of course, is paired to a Rockford Force-gate system, so the music is actually pretty spectacular. You have over here an electronic parking brake, electronic stability control, and that ties into what Trevor is about to discuss with the driving mechanics, the super all-wheel drive, super oil control system that helps this car stay on the road and be a spectacular car to drive. But let's check out the back to see how much space it has for passengers and for staff. So the back of the Eclipse is an interesting place because this car is actually bigger than the Mitsubishi ASX, but smaller than the Outlander, meaning that it's bigger than a small SUV, but smaller than a medium-sized SUV. It's a bit of a sweet spot, and that sweet spot is at this back seat because there's actually quite a lot of space. This seat is set to my driving position. I am 5'9" tall, and there's enough space for both my knees and my feet under the seat here, making it a very comfortable place to sit. The back seats are set pretty high, which allows you now to have a very good view outside of the window on the side here and out of the windscreen. So you and your kids, anybody sitting at the back here is going to have a very good setup. A lot of light in the background here because the top is a different color. It's light, giving it a light and airy setting over here. In terms of storage, we have aircraft style pockets in the backs of the seats. We have spaces in the doors over here for drinks, as well as an armrest over here. In terms of safety, this car has 7 airbags, including curtain airbags for the people at the back. There are ISOFIX points for child seats in the outboard seats. And something that's very rare in cars like this, there's actually a 3-point safety belt for the person in the center here. The other thing that's important is that you can actually slide the chairs front or back to give you more space over here or in the boot for the stuff that you need, as well as the ability to recline the seat to give yourself a space to lie down on a long trip. Let's check out the boot to see how much space this car has. Coming around to the boot of the Eclipse Cross, and this interesting design with a split windscreen is actually very good because it gives it a coupe style but allows you to have a lot of space inside here. So opening here, you have access to 438 liters of space, and like I mentioned earlier, you can move the back seats to forward to give more space at the back or back to give more space for the passengers in the back seat. Over here, we have a full-size spare tire that's also the same matching as the rest of the wheels, so it's also an alloy. There's a lot of space on the side to keep a lot of stuff in here, and basically a very low, flat load lip that makes it easy to put stuff into and out of this car. But let's take this on the road and see what Trevor has to say about how it feels like to drive. This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev maintenance segment, we discuss the importance of major yearly service. Major service is normally done between 15 and 20,000 kilometers. This service involves the checking and replacement of serviceable parts that are critical to the operation of your car. Engine oil. Your old, dirty oil is replaced with clean oil. This makes your engine run smoothly and efficiently. Filters. The oil, air, fuel, and pollen filters are all replaced. This makes your car run more effectively. Spark plugs. Your car's spark plugs are used in the combustion process and are replaced to maximize your vehicle's performance and enhance fuel economy. Brakes. Your brakes are inspected for wear and tear. If they are in good condition, they are cleaned and adjusted accordingly. If they are damaged, they are replaced. Fluids. The transmission, clutch, brake, power steering, and cooling fluids are all flushed and replaced. This ensures that the systems utilizing these fluids run perfectly and enhance the efficiency of your car. A battery test is done to confirm that your battery is charging properly and is not leaking battery acid. If the battery acid levels are low, deionized water is used to bring the levels back up to the required position. This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev used vehicle segment, we look at Kenya's best high-performance vehicles. Here are our picks for the top 3 high-performance vehicles available in the used car market. The Mitsubishi Evolution. The Mitsubishi Evolution is a car with a fanatical following in our country due to its performance pedigree. Early models of the Evo were powered by a 4G63 2000cc turbocharged petrol engine with 300 horsepower, sending power to all 4 wheels through a 6-speed manual transmission. They also featured Mitsubishi's super active yaw control with a central differential, making them some of the most fun cars to drive on our roads. The current Evo 10 is based on a new chassis and has a new 4B11 2000cc turbocharged engine with 300 horses on tap and an optional dual clutch transmission controlling the super active yaw control unit that distributes torque based on the road surface. The market price for this car is about 2 million shillings. Nissan R35 GTR. Moving on to the GTR, Nissan has been building high-performance road cars from the 60s, with the Skyline family evolving from the late 80s all the way to the early 2000s. Nissan made the strategic choice of building the GTR as a supercar to compete with European rivals Porsche at half the cost. Locally, one is able to source a used GTR for roughly 4 million shillings. Subaru Impreza STI. The Subaru Impreza WRX STI is the perennial rival to the Mitsubishi Evolution. Many of us grew up watching the likes of Colin McRae, Richard Burns, and Patrick Giroux driving flat out on the Kajiado Plains during the grand days of the Safari Rally. The STI competed in the World Rally Championship just like the Evolution and was powered by an EJ20 horizontally opposed 2000cc turbo engine developing 300 horsepower with power sent to all 4 wheels by Subaru's legendary symmetrical all-wheel drive system. The WRX is the most accessible performance vehicle for any enthusiast, with prices starting at 1.7 million shillings.
So guys, today's a beautiful day and we are sampling the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. This is the Mitsubishi's first crossover, and I can tell you, if you hear Mitsubishi designing and developing a vehicle, they bring and inject a lot of performance in their vehicles. For example, you remember the Mitsubishi Galant, you remember the Fortis, you remember the Evolution. All these cars have been designed to give driver thrill, and of course, this particular Eclipse Cross is not being left out. So what does it have in front? You have a choice. You can either decide to have a 1.5 liter turbo or a 2 liter. Now this particular one has a 2 liter naturally aspirated engine, 4-cylinder with MIVEC. Now MIVEC stands for Mitsubishi Intelligent Variable Valve Electronic Control System. Now this one basically retards the amount of air that gets into the car at certain sequences to give you more power at higher RPMs, and of course give you fuel efficiency at lower RPMs. Now that allows this engine, the 4B11, to produce 110 kilowatts, 150 horsepower, and 198 Newton meters of torque. Now that power is like this. So if I'm gonna just switch on sport mode and then floor it, someone third, you can hear it, 5,000 RPM, shift to fourth, fifth, and sixth. Now that power is now this power is sent to the front wheels courtesy of a 6-speed CVT transmission. Yes, you know I don't like CVT, but the way Mitsubishi have done it, they've paired it with Invex 3. That's a Mitsubishi acronym for the gearbox, the adaptive learning gearbox that Mitsubishi has put and has been using for years and years, since the likes of the Galant in the 90s. Now Invex learns your driving patterns and adjusts accordingly. So if it feels like you want to accelerate, then it hangs on to the lower gears to give you more torque and more power. That is so important. And obviously, as you drive and cruise along, it gives you a good fuel consumption figure of roughly about 10 kilometers to the liter, which is not too bad for this particular car. This vehicle has McPherson struts at the front, and at the rear you have multi-link suspension just to keep you steady on the tarmac. And of course, when you go off-road, the long stroke version of this particular car gives this car a comfortable driving feel when you're doing some off-roading. It's not a Pajero Sport, so you can't do extreme off-roading, but you can go off to the Maram a bit. If you're going to the Shamba, you can enjoy this particular car because with the 210mm ground clearance, it is able to take you through some of the Maram roads that you probably find around the city. Now, safety-wise, Mitsubishi are also synonymous with safety. So they have this RISE philosophy where the passenger is protected from all harm. So active safety features include anti-lock braking system, vehicle stability control. You do have blind spot assist in some other versions, and of course you do have attention assist, which is very, very important. But in case all hell breaks loose, then you can rely on the 7 airbags that Mirigi mentioned that are coming as standard, and of course the RISE safety cell that protects you and your family from harm's way, which is very important in this category. How safe is this car? You love it. But can this car go off-road? We're going to find out, and I'm going to hand over the reins to Mr. Mirigi, who's going to give us a detailed analysis of the suspension, how it feels off-road, and of course the value for money proposition, courtesy of Cars is Big Boy Trev.
So guys, we've decided we're going to take this off the road a bit because although this is a crossover, compact crossover, and it's built primarily to be driven on tarmac, we live in Kenya and we have to be realistic about these situations. You're going to have to go off the road a bit. So this is not the type of car that you'd use to go all the way to Lodwar to do overlanding, but with a high ground clearance and the 4-wheel drive system that is usually fitted to this, you can probably get your way on surfaces that are not exactly tarmac. So the 4-wheel drive system on this car specifically is usually set up to give you better traction when you're on the road. It's that legendary super all-wheel drive system by Mitsubishi that was actually developed for the Evolution, the Mitsubishi Lancer. And in this setup, all it does is make sure that each wheel has enough traction to get you around a corner or to get you on a road that's a bit slippery. So now if you have gravel or if it's raining and it's wet, it will help you to maintain control of the car. So in this setting right now, although this is actually a 2-wheel drive vehicle, because it has good ground clearance, we've taken it off the road onto a bit of a rough track just to see how it handles. And we have to say it's doing a pretty good job. The engine is pretty powerful, so that allows you just to modulate with the accelerator to put the car exactly where you want it to be. I'm not having to force it. Can't even hear the engine running right now. The car is still very quiet and very composed. I'm liking what the suspension is doing here, because we are actually cushioned from a lot of what's happening on the ground. Usually you don't see a lot of this happening on a car that's built for tarmac when it goes off-road, but this is doing a really good job of that. The point of a car like this is to take you to places where you do interesting stuff. So if you need to go zip lining after this quarantine is done, you want to go up country, you want to do some interesting stuff, this can take you to some of the places that people do a lot of interesting things. Your bungee jumping, zip lining, whitewater rafting, most of those places are not too far within the beaten track, and this will take you there with ease. So let's take this back on the tarmac and check out value for money.
So guys, you've seen what the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross is all about. The value is amazing, and of course, this is a vehicle that you probably would consider if you're buying a crossover right now in Kenya. But before we go any further, how much is this car, Mr. Mwirigi?
Well, prices for the Eclipse Cross start at 4.3 million shillings, but the car we reviewed today is the super deluxe higher spec version. This one comes in at 4.7 million shillings.
And what are the warranties on this particular car?
Well, Simba Corp has always been good when it comes to warranty, so this comes with a 3-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty, whichever comes first.
And obviously you can rely on Mitsubishi and Simba Corp's extensive network across the country to run and manage your Mitsubishi. But before we go, who are the key rivals that compete with this particular car?
Well, we are looking, of course, at the Nissan Qashqai and the Hyundai Creta, which we have reviewed earlier in this show.
Wow, guys, you have so much options. Do you think this particular car is better than the rivals? Send us your thoughts at the social media notes below. We'll get back to you the feedback next week. Signing off, this is Big Boy Trev.
This is Mwirigi. Drive safe
and be safe.